Welcome to the United Man. This is the Manchester United versus Chelsea FA Cup review. Now, didn't go as planned, as we all know. Let's start with the positive. The positive is that we have one less game to play this season. Ollie's tried to rest some players, didn't work out, and change formation as well, didn't work out. So those are the obvious, I should say. It wasn't encouraging. It really wasn't encouraging. We've now. When was the last time? The last time we conceded 3 goals, I believe, was in the semi final of the League Cup against Man City. I think that's as far as I can see. Yeah, that was last time we conceded three goals was against Man City in the semi-final of the League Cup. So yeah, it's not great. It wasn't great viewing. We didn't play well. Now, Bruno and Martial, I'd say, are the only ones to come out of today's game with any kind of credibility. It was poor at best. So let's say for now. Obviously, Bruno got scored the penalty. He also contributed or tried to force things in terms of getting us taking over. Martial, when he come on, looked to force stuff as well. Didn't quite happen, but it's just unfortunate the way it panned out. Tactically, Ollie, well, let's just say Man United, we got outclassed today. It was quite evident that Lampard's team had set up to just completely press us, outworked us as well, which was, again, it wasn't great to see because that, any kind of prerequisite to a winning team is working hard. You've seen the Barcelona sides, Bayern Munich sides before under Pep Guardiola. They work incredibly hard off the ball, and the fact that they completely outworked us and basically wanted it a lot more than we did. Now, I know that comes hand in hand with what the manager is trying to instill in his players, but that was a tactical decision to try and force his players to basically outwork us. Now, one of the things I wanted to focus on as well is that there is now a blueprint to beating Manchester United. There is now a blueprint to how you can effectively play against us, because a lot of people know that our firepower is, if you like, quite devastating. But if you look at the Southampton game, they just pressed us, worked us, pressed us hard the pitch. When it got into our forwards, there was boxing us out. Likewise today with Chelsea, all over the pitch today, they were closing us down all over the pitch, and it showed. What's worse is that we didn't seem to react, or we couldn't react, and I don't know if that's just down to formation or if that's just down to the fact that we just don't have the players to work ourselves out of certain situations. But the first thing I always say, work hard, and we didn't work hard today. Bruno again was the only one pressing. He's running past Martial numerous times try and press the defenders, and he's going up and down, left and right, and it was just a shame to see that not everyone was taking that stance in terms of how they're playing. And yeah, if you're not working hard, you can't really expect too much, in my opinion. So with that, I'll like I say, I will address the fact that tactically we looked like we were outmatched, but when I say tactically, that the tactics were to outwork us. The tactics were to close us down, and then for Chelsea to try and retain possession once they won the ball back. Again, we didn't react to that with a counter press. We just tried to continue to move the ball on in a very slow manner. Our passing was off today. It started from the back between Maguire, Brandon Williams gave the ball away a lot today, leading to Mason Mount's goal. We'll get onto David De Gea in a moment. We will get onto David De Gea in just a moment. But I wanted to focus on how we actually lost that game. I wanted to focus on the aspect of it wasn't just the fact that they just closed us down a lot. It was the fact that when there was in possession, we didn't close that. We didn't counter press them. We let them have it in defense, which they didn't let us do, which is why it made our defenders look so uncomfortable. We just looked so uncomfortable. It was hard to watch. Every single time we tried to play the ball out from De Gea, just looked like we was gonna give the ball away or something like that. So I just don't know. It would just look really awkward. The thing is, tactically, if we get into the Champions League, which I believe we will, obviously another positive is that Leicester lost this weekend to Spurs, as I thought they may drop points. But tactically, if we make it to the Champions League, as I said, I think we will. Next season, there'll be more of that. They'll know that they won't be able to stand toe to toe and go hell for leather. We'll score 5, you score 6 kind of thing. So they'll know that's the specific blueprint now on how to beat Manchester United is the high press. You've got to be quite fit, obviously, but there's a lot more subs now that can be used. So that's not too much of an issue. And have a bit of quality on the ball, which Southampton showed they did. Chelsea obviously do as well. So just uncomfortable viewing, really uncomfortable viewing, unfortunately. Let's have a look and see what's Alexander William. Disappointing of Man United, but thank God it wasn't the English Premier League completely. That yeah, I mean, we've beaten both times in the league this season, but yeah, it was just, again, was it down to the fact that Ollie changed his tactics and personnel? I feel like we needed to rest players anyway. Even today, it seemed like we were still lethargic. We were still tired. We weren't doing that short, sharp passing. 19 games unbeaten we went. In terms of, so it was 14 wins and 5 draws. Within that time, the last sort of like 4 or 5 games, Ollie didn't change his lineup. However, what he kept consistent throughout that whole period was the formation and the system of play 4-3-3 or 4-2-1 defensively when we was in defensive shape, and that worked. So I'm not going to sit here and label it all at Ollie, because once the players are out there, it's down to them. However, the personnel changes. It all depends on how much Ollie wanted to win this game. Players needed rests, and did Ollie really want to win this game? That's partly what it comes down to. So, as I said before, blueprint to beat Manchester United is the fact that just press us. We don't see high press our defence. They certainly get on Wan-Bissaka. They got on Brandon Williams as well today, and we couldn't handle it. Simple as that. Moes, did he really rest anyone? Bruno has played so many minutes. It's unbelievable. Bruno has played an astonishing amount of minutes. He really has. And you can see even Bruno's not, even though he's harrying and chasing and pressing every Tom, Dick and Harry, you can see that Bruno isn't the sort of live wire that he was, maybe 2 weeks ago. There's a lot of games. We all knew there was going to be a lot of games in a short period of time. But that also goes to show that we don't actually have the strength in depth to actually support the starting 11. Pogba needed a rest, hence why he didn't start. Matic got a rest the last game against Crystal Palace, which is why McTominay started. Greenwood needed a rest. He's played a lot of minutes as well, which is why James started. Rashford has played pretty much every game since he's been back, and most minutes. So for me, it's not a case of, like Mo said there, it's have we rested many? Timothy Fosu-Mensah came in, but that was only because of injuries as well. So it's just a tough situation. Rasmus A, hello, how's it going, mate? Nice to join you for once in a long time, but nice. But such a disgraceful performance. Listen, we can lose or we can draw, but it's the manner you lose or draw. Likewise, winning. When was winning with Louis van Gaal, it didn't feel like a win because the wins were so lethargic and there was no sort of oomph or zip to our play. So the manner of how we lost today, is pretty much in the same category because there wasn't any urgency, there wasn't any tempo, there wasn't any fight, the work rate wasn't there. Technically, we were poor. The passing was so off today. It was embarrassing. As I say, when Marshall came on, he brought a bit of urgency as well. But other than that, Bruno really was the only other person that really did anything. Tom Charlton, it's the way we lost. That was disappointing. Completely agree with you, Tom. And what Rasmus said as well. Obviously, it was just disappointing, or disgraceful, as Rasmus said. It was just wasn't great at all. We just looked like we weren't interested. Looks like, and it showed as such that Chelsea wanted it more than us as well. Ryan Anthony says, really bad value for 350k a week. Listen, the value of someone's wage shouldn't determine how they play on a week-to-week basis. That being said, it certainly should, give you a kick up the backside to say, well, look, do you know what? They're paying me mega bucks, so let's go and make sure I'm earning it. So I do agree with it. That's Stoic Savage. Why did Ollie change formation? I could only put it down to he was trying to rest players. He's trying to rotate players, but I don't particularly agree with that because of the amount of games that we're playing. This has never happened before. Obviously, there's this many games being played in a short space of time and period. We've got an extra game because we've got an FA Cup semi-final than others. Some others obviously have European competition as well, but it just goes to show, and it shows out quite obviously now that we do not have the strength and depth to basically adapt, rotating the system. That being said, the opposite is true as well. If we don't rotate, if we don't rest players, injuries will happen. So we lost Luke Shaw down to a twisted ankle. Obviously, we lost Brandon Williams for the Crystal game, which was a head collision. We've lost Eric Bailly. Not too sure how serious that injury is for Eric Bailly. Didn't look great. He had 2 head clashes today. One with it was the first one with Kurt Zuma from the cross in, and then another one with Harry Maguire, which I thought was a bit sloppy from Harry Maguire because Bailly was already there challenging. Maguire's come up behind him. I'm assuming he's giving him a shout. He's a professional footballer. He's an international footballer, so I'm assuming he gave him a shout. And Bailly still competed for the ball, but Harry Maguire can see the full picture. So for me, Harry Maguire's got either, and he's seen Bailly going up for it, so he doesn't really need to go and challenge in a 2-for-1 against Olivier Giroud. Just be ready for any afters. That's all he needed to do in that circumstance. So for me, it's not a fault, but he could have done better in that situation, Harry Maguire for sure. So yeah, that's that, I suppose. Now I'll go through the rest of the comments that's on here, and I will get onto David De Gea. Okay. Yes, my man Shane, how are you? Mad Mark UK, how we doing, my mate? You got smashed. What happened? Ollie getting to big for his boots. Ah, here we go. Hey, I wouldn't even say Ollie's getting too big for his boots. It's just he's not. Listen, Ollie's still grown into the role, which is why, I've always maintained long term, is Ollie the right man for the guy? Right now, you can't say he's not, because he's proven his worth. This is one setback in a cup competition where we changed our formation and changed our starting personnel. So you can't then say, oh, Ollie's not the right man for the job. I'm just stressing the fact that I've said for a long time that long term, is he the right man for the job? Because this was a very, very low level tactical battle that we've lost out on here. Now, if I go to the first goal for Chelsea as well. In fact, I won't do that yet. I'll finish going through the comments. Go back to Red Devil Studio. What's going on, my guy G? Why did Ollie drop Romero? That was a very strange one, because we all know that Romero is normally our cup competition goalkeeper, and sometimes it's good for players to just sit back and observe what's going on the pitch from the bench, watching it live. Especially for a goalkeeper, you can be picking out, and think to yourself, okay, this is what I do here, this is what I do here, by watching it live yourself in a competitive game. Not often a goalkeeper will get to do that. Well, a number one goalkeeper will get a chance to do that. So for me, Romero should have started. Don't know why he didn't. Maybe Ollie's trying to get David De Gea's confidence up, but that didn't happen, did it? Stoic Savage, Chelsea showed how to beat us with their rough house tactics. Yeah, that and the press, the high press as well. Ryan Anthony saying we need Dean Henderson. My friend said we should swap De Gea, deal De Gea for Oblak after the game. The best Man United host on YouTube. Yes, Mad Mike UK. Red Devil Studio. Romero should have started. I completely agree there, and that's not even a question. And that's the organisation of and the structure of the club for Romero to start all the cup games. Well, especially the English-based cup games, the League Cup, the FA Cups. Europa League, it's a big competition, so you can take your pick there. Rasmus A, people are saying that we should drop De Gea and full of praise for Romero. Unpopular opinion, but I think Romero is way overrated. We'll come back to that one, Rasmus A. That's a good point in some respects. Mama UK, just United goalkeeper and defence. Get the keeper and defence sorted and use will be complete. So back to Rasmus A's point in terms of Romero. I think Romero, he's just solid. That's what it is. He's just solid and consistent. I think even in Romero's last game, he made a mistake. But even so, these are the games and opportunities. If Ollie thought that we could beat Chelsea without Greenwood, without Martial, without Pogba, without Luke Shaw, then okay, fair enough. That being said, the proof is in the pudding and has been since Pogba and Bruno has been back, that when you take Bruno and or Pogba or both out of the setup, possession drops massively. Opportunities created drops massively. Intensity, because Bruno always brings that high press, drops massively. So, listen, Frank Lampard's got a young squad there as well. Well, young enough squad there as well, and they're trying to do something similar to what we're doing. That being said, yeah. Anyway, let's go on to the fact that the goals. The first goal, Lindelof. Let's start with Brandon Williams and Matic down our left-hand side and Chelsea's right. They somehow let the ball be slid through between the two of them. Brandon Williams had cover and just watched the ball be slipped through for Azpilicueta to whip in. Subsequently, Lindelof was out of position against Olivier Giroud, then got bullied in terms of trying to get to the ball, and the obvious obviously then happened. So for me, there was an error in quite a few parts there, and it's not great because this is something that is continually creeping into our game. Whereas beforehand, before the lockdown, defensively we were solid. In a manner of speaking, now and in hindsight, that's because we had to be, because we didn't have Pogba and Greenwood and Bruno was firing all cylinders, but we didn't have that added extra bit that we did. Where we had free flowing attacking, we didn't have all of that. So we had to be defensively solid, which is why our goal scoring exploits were predicated on counter-attacking football. We can still counter-attack now, but we can also break teams down. That's how we've been playing. However, today, it just showed that the squad depth isn't sufficient enough to drop these players. But at the same time, the amount of games they're playing is dangerous, and you're going to get injuries because of that. And as I say, it was unfortunate today with what happened with Eric Bailly. Hopefully, the lad gets a break, and it's a minor injury, and is not too much comeback from that. So hopefully that's the case for him. Fingers crossed, and all that good stuff. Chelsea's second goal. This is the one. Now, let me know if you think though on the first goal, David De Gea could have done better because he got a hand to it and it kind of just rolled past him, didn't it? For Olivier Giroud's goal. I feel like he could have had a stronger hand to it, but it was very close. As I said, Lindelof should have done better. Matic should have done better. Brandon Williams should have done better. None of them did. Ended up as a goal, 1-0. The second goal, however, Brandon Williams obviously turned infield, done a loop pass into the centre of the pitch in between the halfway circle and the edge of our area, edge of the D. Obviously, it was intercepted by Mason Mount. His lofted pass into the middle of the pitch. Should never do that. 101. Lofted pass into the middle of the pitch to which Mason Mount intercepted it. Run at the defence. I always say, even when there's a misplaced pass or there's a breakdown in some way, shape or form, it's how quickly you react. It's about how quickly you can get into your positions. It's about seeing it before it actually happens. So, in instance, we have three central midfielders. Brandon Williams clipped it into the middle, in between the defenders and the strikers. Just clipped it, floated it, shouldn't have done it. But where was all, why didn't we react to that? And then Mason Mount brought it forward, carried it forward, a good 20 yards, then had a crack. It wasn't obviously a powerful shot. David De Gea, I don't know what to say. I don't know how, and I was watching some of the punditry after the game, and some of the ex-professionals were saying, look, it's time. It's time to look at seriously taking David De Gea out, because when you make 2 or 3 mistakes, 4 mistakes a season as a goalkeeper in the Premier League, Championship, League One, League Two, you can expect to be punished. But when you're making double-figure mistakes in terms of how that goalkeeper should have saved it, and also his distribution, when you're making mistakes in double figures, like De Gea, who won 4 out of 5 Player of the Year for Man United when we was absolutely terrible. But when you're making that amount of mistakes within a season, how do we justify still starting David De Gea? How do we go about justifying? Yep, I still think it's okay to start David De Gea. You can't keep going off past past performances, which is what it is. I feel like he's not starting off, recent good performances. His recent performances have been very, 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 very wavy, very uncertain, and you always, it's like when you get a striker like Mason Greenwood, when he gets an opportunity to score, when Martial gets an opportunity to score, you feel like those lads are going to score. Bruno Fernandes on a penalty today, you feel like he's going to score. You expect him that he's going to score. The opposite is true with David De Gea. When there's an opportunity for a team to score against us, you feel like they're going to score. And that's the reality of it. And it's a horrible feeling, and it's even worse thing for me to say, because I am a David De Gea fan. But at what point do we say enough's enough? You're going to have to come out. He'd done the same thing for Spain a few years ago, but the amount of mistakes he's made this season and over the past 18 months, it's a lot. It's too much. And listen, I'm no goalkeeping expert by any means, but I can see when someone needs to come out of the lineup, especially at that level. That kind of save, if my Sunday League goalkeeper let that in, he'd be getting it both barrels, because those ones you should be saving. He didn't absolutely lever it. It's not like the Steven Bergwijn game, the first game back from lockdown against Spurs, where he's run through at blistering pace and gone smack, and it's kind of cannoned off De Gea's lower section and just cannoned off into the roof of the net. It's not like that. He connected with it. It wasn't like it was even in the far corner. He's connected with it cleanly enough, but it wasn't travelling any major distance, which is why De Gea's got down to try and make a cushion save. If it was one of those, it's just, I don't see how we can now try to justify keeping De Gea in goal. Not just after today. I'm not just talking about today. Like I said, the first goal from Drew's goal, He was very close, but that David De Gea got a big hand to it. And in my opinion, he should have possibly saved that. I'm not saying that's down to him because there was a lot before it. Matic and Brandon Williams positioning, Lindelof getting caught out of position and then out muscled. Shouldn't have happened. Second goal, terrible. Absolutely terrible. You don't need me to tell you, but it's just breaking down the fact that it was such a he knows it, Ollie knows it, but what I don't like about managers, this isn't geared towards Ollie specifically, but what I don't like about managers is when I ain't got a problem if he doesn't slate David De Gea, in public. I haven't got a problem with that. That's fine. Do that behind closed doors. But then if he goes and then starts him for the rest of the season, bearing in mind we've only got a handful of games left, if we make it into the final of Europa League, how do you justify that? How do we then have faith in Ollie's decision making if he's still looking to start De Gea after today, after numerous slip-ups, Everton, Watford, but to name a few? How do we then continue to have confidence in Ollie's decision making if he's not willing to do the hard things? I believe Ollie, I hope Ollie will make the right decision. I can't even say that it's I believe he will go with David De Gea. I just hope he makes the right choice and takes him out of the firing line, because right now everyone's looking at De Gea like that. It's your fault. The first goal, debatable. He got a hand to it. Possibly should have stopped it, but it was very close. Certainly the defenders beforehand should have dealt with that. The second goal was his fault. Third goal, Harry Maguire's. Everyone just looked lackadaisical. And the thing is, when we're conceding goals, I'm not seeing anyone rollicking anyone. We're just like, oh gosh, we've conceded a goal. We're not seeing any kind of animation, any kind of desire to put it right, any kind of ferocity to give a player a rollicking for making a stupid decision. The amount of misplaced passes we had today. This is why I'll go back to it, the old age, when you got a Roy Keane in your side or a Peter Schmeichel that knows going to rip your head off if you're making stupid mistakes, that when you get back into that change rooms, if you're making silly mistakes, you're going to get a rollicking. And these aren't just players that are just doing it all that. They can do it on the pitch as well. Do we have that in the squad today? Do we? I don't know. I don't know what Harry Maguire's like in the change rooms, but he himself would need to pick his performances up. He's an £85 million defender. It's not his fault in terms of the price tag, but for what I see him being and what he can be and what he should be doing, he's not delivering to what I believe he should be doing right now, and to what a lot of you think as well. Lindelof, I don't believe he's good enough anyway. We're just looking so lackadaisical now. It's horrendous. I'll go back to the comments. Ryan Anthony, any news on Sancho? Sancho, there's a few bits on there where it's basically saying that the deal's pretty much done. Personal terms agreed, as it was with Bruno Fernandes. When I was reading a lot of sources. Now, a lot of the things you need to realize to remember, I should say, when it comes to transfer dealings, it's the multiple sources, and obviously the more reputable sources then start to letting little twigs loose, like they fully expect the deal to be done. They're hearing that personal terms have been agreed, those sort of things. But in terms of Sancho, it's not a done deal as of yet, but I believe, like I said about Bruno Fernandes, when everyone was worrying about the deal not getting done, I believe the Sancho deal is more or less a case of when and not if. But yeah, no further updates in terms of today or over the weekend on that one. Matt Rush is in the house. What's going on, man? Poor from De Gea today again. Completely, as you know, we just touched on that. This performance has been coming, just highlights our lack of squad depth. Absolutely. Anouk Patel, Solskjaer and De Gea are to blame. Can't really argue with that. The second goal, a championship goalie could save that. Anouk Patel again, yeah. Like I was saying before, if my Sunday League goalkeeper didn't save that, he'd know about it. Palmeiras in the house as well. Mate, I don't even know what to say. Everyone was poor today. The tactics and formation was off, and De Gea is done. And that's, it's harsh words, but true there from Palmeiras, because the reality of it is, how, as things stand now, as I've just stressed, how do we go and then have faith in Ollie if he continues to start De Gea throughout the rest of the season? This isn't just one, it's not two, it's not three, it's not four mistakes. We're talking double figure mistakes. We're talking distribution. We're talking saves he should have easily saved, shots he should have caught, and it's gone through his hands. There's so many, and this is where we are right now. So it's harsh but true. Okay, Romero and De Gea, that relationship is too easy. De Gea always knows Ollie will give him the nod. Yeah, it's true. It's very, very true. Football fan fever, wrong tactics, wrong formation, wrong team, wrong mindset. End of. That's my mate there, football fan fever. And go and check out his channel, guys, as well. Big Man United fan as well. I suppose the errors are quite obvious and quite prominent and quite numerous. And the fact that we're okay, individual errors today, you can count them on both hands. That's how many individual errors we made today. Not all of them led to goal scoring opportunities, but the game's not going well for your team. The game's not going well in terms of how you planned it. The game isn't going well in terms of what you're expecting. What you do need to do is work your backside off. The very, very first thing you do is work your backside off. The only player I've seen doing it, as I reiterated beforehand, was Bruno Fernandes. It's the only player. And that's time after time after time, when he's running past Martial, he's running past Greenwood, he's running past Rashford. He's done it numerous times today when Rashford is playing up top with Daniel James. Come on, that's the first thing. And Bruno Fernandes must get so frustrated because he's running to close down the right back. He's running to close down the left back. He's looking around to see when he's going to close down the right back, is my striker going to close down the centre back? Is my striker going to close down the right back? The amount of times I've seen him doing that, and he still does it. He still does it. But the next thing will be demanding that from your teammates, demanding that they're working as hard as you at the very, very least. If the performances are off, that happens in football. I couldn't tell you the last game that neither Rashford nor Martial nor Greenwood scored. Origalo obviously got a short cameo. But the first and foremost prerequisite to any kind of performance, whether you're winning or losing, especially if you're losing and it's not going your way, is work hard. All the greatest sides work hard off the ball. All of them, without fail. Chelsea showed it today. They was off the ball. They was winning 3-0 and they're still harrying and closing down. That much, it's just, yeah. The fact that we wasn't working hard as well was really, really disappointing. And ultimately, Chelsea wanted it more. Guys, we've got 17 people in the live chat. Much appreciated. Get the likes down as well. Just going to jump into the comments as well. Lindelof gets muscled off the ball by Giro too easy. Lindelof, listen, I know people think that there's a bit of an agenda for Lindelof. As a centre-back, two things you need to have as a centre-back. Standard is, number one, you need to be good in the air as a centre-back, which he just clearly isn't. And number two, you need to be physically stronger than your strikers, or at least as strong as, like Maguire was and is, in terms of he was battling with Giroud most of the game. The one time he isn't, and he's on Lindelof's out of position and gets muscled off it. So I know I keep going on about Lindelof. Maguire hasn't been as great as I understand that. However, you need to have confidence in your centre-back partner. That's one thing. Manchester United's previously winning championship sides have always been predicated on a fantastic number one goalkeeper, a partnership of very good defenders. A partnership, that's two. Right now, it's not there. Terry Weeks, what's going on, Terry? Ollie has two huge decisions to make regarding the goalkeeping situation. One, does Romero finish the season between the sticks? Two, does Hendo become the new number one next season? Now, touching on that subject, very good question there, Terry. Number one, as I said before, how do we then have faith in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's decision making or the ability to make the tough decision if he doesn't put Romero in between his sticks? If nothing else, show De Gea that you can't just make these mistakes and expect to start the next week. Everyone else has got to fight for their place in the team. De Gea shouldn't be exempt from that. Yes, has done fantastically amazing things for us in the past, and I don't want to see him leave the club. However, if we're going to get back to winning ways, he can't be putting in those performances. And if he's going to continue to put those performances in, then there's only one answer to that. He shouldn't be playing. And in relation to Dean Henderson coming back, now, when Ollie was asked probably about 3-4 weeks ago about Dean Henderson coming back to Manchester United, Ollie's response was this, and I'll quote, "One day, I believe Dean Henderson will be Manchester United and England's number one." That was Ollie's response to the question about David De Gea and Dean Henderson. Having said that, that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean that he's going to be here next season. For me, I would personally drop De Gea for the rest of the season. Give him next season, because I don't believe we're going to be winning the Premier League or the Champions League if we make it next season. I still believe we're going to be building. So you give David De Gea next season. Leave Dean Henderson on loan in a fully established, well-equipped, well-performing, well-set-up team like Sheffield United. Leave him there. He's obviously progressing there, doing really well. Leave him there for another season. If De Gea does the same again, no question. No question. That's nearly 3 years of poor performances then. You sell him, whatever you need to do. Bring in Dean Henderson. Bring back Dean Henderson. Dean Henderson wants to come back as Manchester United's number one goalkeeper. He's not coming back to sit on the bench. That's his mentality. He believes that he's good enough to come and be Manchester United's number one. That's not trying to say anything in terms of De Gea, but he reckons his ability is good enough to be Manchester United's number one right now. Okay. Ollie tried a different tactic, didn't work. His one-man tactic at the moment. Wouldn't mind a loss, but not at loss in this manner. That's from Draco Evolved there. My guy Draco, make sure you go and check out his channel as well. Does some great stuff, some great content around Manchester United, and he's also a gamer. Great. Listen, I completely agree. It's the manner of the loss. Just like I was saying before, sometimes you can win in terrible ways, drudginous ways, like we did under Louis van Gaal, sometimes under Mourinho, and it just doesn't feel great. What we've been doing since, we've been going hell for leather, bang, 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 bang. We'll score one more than you. Sound brilliant, but we just laid down today, absolutely laid down today, and that's absolutely like Draco said. It's hard to take when you're seeing performances like that, just laying down and not giving the monkeys, basically. So yeah, it is the manner of the loss. Completely agree there. We need 4 players: a centre back, Grealish, Sancho, and a defensive midfielder. Yes, Grealish. He brings some depth to our squad, quality depth to our squad. A centre back. My choice would be Upamecano. My realistic choice would be Dale Upamecano. I've said before, from RB Leipzig. Fits the mould of Ollie wanting younger players. He's got experience to the left of him, Luke Shaw and Maguire. He's 21, has the potential to be like a Kalidou Koulibaly. So for me, my choice would be Dale Upamecano from Leipzig. Defensive midfielder, I'm not sure. I'm not sure who I'd pick there. Had we played a different system, I'd be after Ruben Neves, but we don't play the right system for him. Sancho, believe that's a done deal, as I said before. Yeah, Grealish, I agree. Matt Rush, just need to beat West Ham now. Need to put them this result behind us. Better to lose now than against West Ham. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And the fact that Leicester lost 3-0, as I've been saying before, I believe when we was probably like, I don't know, I think we were still like 6 points behind them or something like that. I believe that we needed to catch them, and we needed to try and catch up with their goal difference, which the 3-0, I believe they were +3 ahead of us. So I believe the 3-0 now would have 3-0 defeat would have done that. I believe. I'll just double check that actually. Where are we? Yeah, so we're level on goal difference now with Leicester as well, and 13 +13 ahead of Chelsea. So, as I said, Chelsea has still got a much harder schedule than us. They've got Liverpool and Wolves as their final 2 Premier League games, and they're going to have half an eye on the FA Cup final now against Arsenal. So that, like I said, Chelsea could lose both those games. Liverpool's at home. No, there's no crowd, but Chelsea could lose both those games. At home against Liverpool, Liverpool are home, and then they're at home against Wolves. So it's not insurmountable to say that they'd lose both those games. So yeah, and Leicester, as I said before, I believe Leicester would drop points as well. As I was saying, I believe they could lose all 3 of their last Premier League games, which was against Sheffield United, Tottenham and us. They won against Sheffield United, lost against Tottenham. If we get a draw, so be it. We get Champions League. But yes, I better go back to the comments. These players have bottled it before, Ollie, and they'll continue to do it. Mainly De Gea. Harsh words there from Palmeiras. Football Fan Fever saying Antonio is on form. Okay, I'm assuming that's to do with West Ham. Okay, Raymond Moore's in the house as well. Raymond saying Spurs destroyed Leicester today. No need to dwell too much on this loss. Great point there, Raymond. I agree with that, mate. Draco saying to challenge for the league. Lindelof is not the answer next to Maguire. I've said it many times. Plenty of games in a season. Lindelof can easily get plenty of games. That's a good point. Squad player for Lindelof. I agree. Dennis saying all these unbeaten games mean nothing if we don't qualify for Europe. So for me, no excuses. Completely, that's a great point there, Dennis. And Raymond saying Rooney was our best player of all time, and even he got sold by United. The hair is not different. Silly mistakes again, then he should be gone. Yeah, I mean that's a great point. Yeah, I just really want to see us. As I said, the Chelsea, it's not the end of the world. 1 game less for us to think about. We've still got the Europa League to think about, as I've mentioned. Let's go and check that. Why am I seeing 2 Chelseas here? Yeah, we've still got. What round are we in? So it's round of 16 of the Europa League. It's round of 16. So potentially, and we're in league. We're on. It's a second leg. So 1, 2, 3. Blooming heck. Possibly got another. Was it 4 games, 5 games in the Europa League? If we reach the final. Gosh. And then obviously that's another 2 Premier League games as well. West Ham on Wednesday at 6 o'clock. I'm betting on a Manchester United win. They'll have would have had their the tails between their legs after that performance for today. And again, like many of you alluded to, it's the poor performance today, the manner of which we lost, the lack of fight, the lack of ferocity, intensity on our end. We just rolled over basically, and Chelsea just walked all over us as well. So yeah, that was a disappointing thing today. I completely agree, and yeah, I don't think there's anyone that we can say in the setup right now. I think it's the last two games, even against Crystal Palace, we didn't play good. I couldn't say we played good. I think my ratings were quite low as well for the Crystal Palace game. But anyway, that being said, I'll get onto my ratings for this game. So David De Gea, I've given a 4. Tell me if you think that's a bit too harsh, but I've gone with a 4 for David De Gea. Wan-Bissaka, I've given a 6. Maguire, I've given a 6. Lindelof, I've given a 5. Bailly, I've given a 5. Brandon Williams, I've given a 5. Fred, I'll give a 6. Bruno, I'll give a 6.5. Rashford, I'll give a 6. And Daniel James, I'll give a 5. Pogba, I'll give a 6. And Greenwood, I'll give a 6 to as well. And Igalo, I didn't really give a rating to because, yeah, didn't really get much of a chance to have an impact, in all honesty. So that's my ratings as well. Fingers crossed. I'm still confident. I'm still confident. As I said, our games are against West Ham, who are safe, I believe. Yeah, they're safe now. Mathematically, I believe they're safe from the drop. So they don't really have a great deal to play for. We, on the other hand, this is the perfect opportunity. We are now going into our next Premier League game level. We've got on goal difference with Leicester. With a game in hand, we're going to be licking our wounds from our defeat for today. So all we need is like a 2 or 3-0 clear goal win. That gives us the plus goal difference to what I've been banging on about for ages. If we can finish above Chelsea in the meantime, that'll stick it to them in a different way, obviously, because finishing in 3rd place is automatic qualification. Finishing in 4th place, you still have to qualify against some minnow team, but it just messes up your pre-season because you've got to have that game played really early in your pre-season setup. So yeah, so for me, if we can get 3rd spot of Chelsea, Leicester out of the top 4 altogether, yeah, that'd be good. Or you never know, Chelsea might be out of the top 4 altogether because Chelsea have got, I'll go back to it, Chelsea's got Liverpool and Wolves. So it's not unbelievable that they may lose both games there. Leicester have, as I've said before, they've only got us left to play now. So Chelsea could end up. Well, no, saying that, Leicester would have to draw with us to finish ahead of Chelsea. So if we draw with Leicester and Chelsea lose both their games, they're out of the Champions League, basically, which would be good. A little stick it to you for beating us today. Not sour grapes or anything. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for joining me again. Going to do a preview on Tuesday for the West Ham game. Be confident, be happy, not the end of the world. Still going to get Champions League, I believe. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.